Hey everyone, this is a Black Atheist meeting, Roundtable in the Washington, D.C. area. We're going to meet, I guess, semi-weekly on Sundays, so you can hit any of us up on YouTube if you want to know more information about it. I'm user DA Swan 14 on YouTube. My name is Danny. I guess we can all introduce ourselves however you want.
I'm user R. Child on YouTube. My name is Rob.
I'm user Man-Made Sounds on YouTube.
I'm user A300 Pilotster on YouTube.
User C6FT2006 on YouTube.
And I'm Craig. We have one more person coming. He'll introduce himself when he gets here. Alright, so I guess the logical place to start is, what did we all start out as? I myself started out as an atheist. I know that's super rare, being black or whatever. My dad was an atheist. He went to Catholic school, and that shit just didn't sit right with him. So he stopped believing in it, stopped going to church, all that kind of stuff. And so I was raised by him, and my mother's Jewish, but she never went to temple ever. She was just like culturally Jewish, and never was taken to church by either of my parents. I never grew up believing.
Most Jewish people like that.
Yeah, now. Yes, they are. So, what about the rest of y'all?
Started out, my dad was a Baptist pastor, and I started asking questions that I wasn't getting the right answers to, which led me to ask more questions and seek the answers I was looking for.
Your dad was a pastor?
He was a pastor. And
Is he still a pastor?
He's still a pastor now.
Yeah,
he's still a pastor now. Small church, DC. But I was looking for answers. I was asking questions, looking for the answers, and I found them. And they led me to the result that they were giving God. So I'm comfortable with it because I searched it out.
Alright, we'll get more into that later.
Well, my father was a Baptist Marine, and my mom was a Catholic, a self-proclaimed Catholic. We didn't really go to church frequently, but we did go to church. When I was in grade school, elementary school, I remember going to Sunday school. My entire family is very religious, man. Like probably all of our families. But it wasn't like a frequent, people going to church. I didn't have any pastors in my family, but it was just always invoking the name of God and whatever. It's always God bless you this, God bless you that. There's a lot of pressure just in my community. I guess I'll stretch it out and say that most black communities are like that. Mm-hmm. There's just a religious pressure and undertone that's in it.
We'll talk about culture.
Yeah.
Culture and religion are intertwined in it.
But no problem. But as I've always been a doubter, even sitting in church, I was a doubter. I always thought that it seemed kind of weird. And when I was 13, my pops died of cancer. And with that, I was under the impression that he was watching me, God was watching me, and that there was a reason for that. And just throughout my own thoughts, man, it just started to just not make sense that people would say those things. Don't feel bad, he's in a better place. So I've always doubted.
My pops died 2 years ago, and that actually kind of offended me that people he's in a better place, whatever.
Yeah.
They'd say all these religious things, and I'd be like, especially since my dad was an atheist, I'd be like, you think, what up, folks?
What's up, man?
Like that. So we're recording already, so you can just jump in the conversation. It's actually about to get right to you. But just introduce yourself first.
Right here.
You're on this one.
Hi, what up? My name Brandon. I'm talking DC.
YouTube name or whatever.
Who's the boss? Twitter, Black Tony Dance or whatever.
So like,
just cut my thing off. I know I'm getting long-winded, but I became an atheist when I was 27. I'm 30 years old now. And it was just, actually YouTube basically got me on tour. I got to a point where I was like, if God really cares about me, I'm having so many doubts. I want to know what the truth is. I want to know some answers. I want to hear what the devil has to say, because this God thing is kind of confusing and almost contradictory.
Exactly.
So let me see what the devil has to say. And if God really loves me, then he would understand that I'm moving to this point. My rationale is getting to this point, and my questions are here. He should understand. And when I went there, clicked on some YouTube videos, saw some Christopher Hitchens. Game over. Game over.
Atheist experience too.
Yeah, man. Matt Dillahunty, man.
Yeah,
Christopher Hitchens saved my life.
Nice. We're gonna get to stuff like that too.
Cool.
Grew up Baptist for the most part, but kind of thing. I always had questions, doubted it. Dad sang in a gospel choir, like a city choir, but I don't think he ever bought it. He did his own thing. And whenever they fed the priest to him, he would always say, like, Dad gave, if there's a God, he gave you a brain. He would always say that kind of thing. So he never really bought it. I don't think he really bought it. Growing up, mom having to go to church all the time. But the same thing, you ask the question, you get answers that didn't make sense. You really read the thing, and well, he did this, but he killed this person. And I'm like, why don't they mention that part?
Right.
It's never made sense. But kind of participate, kind of get along and go along with the same. Got to college, kind of stopped going to church, hanging with the boys, and then right after that, I joined the Navy and started traveling the world. Then you see other religions, and they're just as passionate. Totally opposite of each other. They're mutually exclusive, and it just did that. They just kind of clicked right there. This is all man-made.
Awesome. Like, I know you're one of a couple military people we have, so I want to talk about that expression of atheist foxhole.
Yeah, that is.
A myth, I assume, since went right along with you.
Yeah, on my dog tags, I ended up getting they asked, what do you want for religion? I said none. The guy did a double take. None. But you also, everybody assumes you're Baptist. Yeah. Assume you're this, assume you're that. I said nothing. I said, okay, put that on. So, they are.
They didn't even used to let you choose that. Like,
yeah.
They gave you Jew, Protestant, Baptist, I think, for the choices in World War II. Wow. What were you? How did you get to be an atheist?
Well, I was, I guess I started out as a Baptist, because my parents, they never really, forced me to, go to church like that. My father, he recently told me after I came out to him, he was like, well, I've pretty much been a skeptic as well. My grandmother was too. That's why I figured, you got a brain, you know what I'm saying? You choose for yourself whatever you want to be or whatever. So, my path to sort of atheism started when I was 20 though. I never really took religion that seriously, but then as I got older, I was when I got to college, I was man, maybe I should pick a religion or something like that. And so I started reading little stuff here and there, got bored with it or whatever. And then I went to I was working at TSA at the time, and out Dulles or whatever. Moving these bags or whatever, and we had a lot of downtime, so we had a lot of discussion. And it was this atheist guy there. And at the same time, during that time, I was scared of him. You know what I'm saying? The word atheist scared the hell out of me. I was I don't know about that. But then he started talking to me, and he asked me this one question, and I didn't even know how to answer. He was like, do you believe in? Do you believe in God? I was like, yeah. And then he was like, why? And I ain't had nothing to say. I was like, that's what they said, and I should believe in. I don't know. But yeah, so after that kind of clicked for me, and I was like, you know what? I need to read up on this stuff. And then I went and bought God Illusion, the Richard Dawkins joint. Started reading some Christopher Hitchens as well, seeing him on YouTube. What man said right there, I was just it's rap. It's rap.
Right. I think a lot of us feel that it's so one-sided when you actually weigh the evidence or whatever.
Right.
It's for real, like, I don't understand people that believe kind of. Like, why don't you see this?
Right, exactly.
It's a no-brainer.
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I grew up. I have my mom on my mom's side, the Baptist side. On my dad's side, the Methodist side. I had preachers, uncle a preacher on both sides of my family. So, but really, my dad didn't take me to church only on special occasions and stuff like that. And come to find out, he's still there. So, I was dragged to church on my mom's side. My grandmother, I used to go spend a night at my grandmother's house, go to church early, that whole thing. But I didn't see the light until I was maybe 36, 37. Hold up, but when I got out the Navy, I went to I went to the Middle East, and I saw how they live, and along with the Malcolm X thing, I was like, yeah, maybe I should go ahead and be a Muslim. So when I got out, went to the mosque and said, yeah, I want to be a Muslim because that Christian thing just don't make any sense. Right. So, and then I got disillusioned with that. I mean, I was like, man, I can't even bring my mom in. She has to sit back here and
Cover her
and right. And I was like, she don't deserve that. Yeah. She doesn't deserve that. So I called myself spiritual for a while. Just not going to church, only on special occasions. So when my mom just pray, come to church with me. I mean, she asked me so many times. So, sometimes I go to church. Yeah, she does that. So, I had a conversation at work, and another atheist teacher that I did invite, but he couldn't make it. And, we were talking about spirits and this and that. And then he was like, no. How do you know it's a spirit? How do you know that? Have you seen one? And I kind of sat back. It's like, what happened? Have you felt one? I haven't. And I started, and that conversation came from the zeitgeist. So after that, I started researching also because I'm a what do you call it? I know what I am. I work in computers. I'm in IT. Okay, so I got to do a lot of research. A lot of research is on Google. If someone has an issue at work, I research it on Google. I can solve the issue. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, hey, let me see what it says about this. And there was a Google video with Richard Dawkins, and I was a fan of him. And then Religious, I sat and watched it with my son. And I was fighting. I was like, wow. I was like, I don't want to say it's no God, but you know what I mean? And I just maybe a couple days after that, I was like, why even? It's a baseless belief, right? So I was done.
Alright, so obviously we're all black, so I want to talk about that. Like, why do you think religion permeates black culture so deeply? We can just go. I personally think it's like has a lot to do with slavery. You're not allowed to read. You have to reach for hope somehow. You don't know anything except like plowing fields and this like one book that they read selected passages to you from. So that's better than plowing fields and the death and morbidity of being a slave so like you add on to that. That's where the people were allowed to congregate. So it became a place of comfort, and all that. So like in that way, it was kind of for me like a forced way of bonding, but like the only way of bonding. Throw that out there.
It's like they give you that hope that though this life is horrible, you're being tortured, you might not be doing something you want to do. God's never going to put something in front of you that you can't handle. And though this life is so horrible, and it might be bad, when it's all over, you will see the glory.
When it's over.
You will see how amazing God is. So keep your hope. It's almost like postponing.
Your happiness.
Yeah. Put this on hold. Look, nigga, do what I say. The shit will get good after you die.
And I say it was good for what it was back then for us to be able to endure it, but you have to grow out of it, especially when the information is there for you to let it go. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there really is no excuse. There really is. No evidence.
I'm gonna throw it to, unless y'all have something to pick up on, to that end of the table. Like, you think it's harmful and why to black people?
Well, it dumbs down the critical thinking. It dumbs down the critical thinking. I think that's why a lot of black folks are lagging, especially in this country, are lagging in academia. Right.
Coupled with the already, bad discriminatory education system.
Exactly.
Like a double whammy.
But that reinforces it. Nah, I don't want to believe that evolution stuff. I don't go to hell. You know what I mean? And it's like it scares people away from science, mathematics. And if they all say that God did it, then they just leave it alone. Exactly.
Explain it.
Anybody else on that end? Why it's harmful?
Well, I think that's one of the major reasons that the lack of encouraging critical thinking. That's one of the major, right?
I think one thing I think that's I talk to my wife about a lot is like it's almost an honor in ignorance, an honor in not being smart, not being a nerd, being cool, being like everyone else. It's almost like a tribal thing where you all need to be doing the same thing, wearing the same pants, acting the same way, talking the same way. Someone walks in the room sounding white, they're pushed away. Someone come get all this smarty art shit. I ain't going to college. Big words to say. It's like you get pushed back for advancing, progress, for learning, for expanding your mind, and almost ridiculed in a sense. So it's a pressure that we put, an invisible pressure we put on each other for no fucking reason. That holds us back, that makes us feel comfortable as we all sitting here stupid as shit, not seeking anything else. But we all a team in our ignorance. So we all hold hands here. It's like a comfort, man, but I don't know how to fix that, man. Little stuff like this chips away at it. You see other black people watching stuff like this, seeing that there are it's more than just yourself out there. There's a room full of folks right here, and this room might get bigger in the future.
It's like two things you can do when you realize your situation is shitty. You can do something about it.
Exactly.
Or get down on your knees. Get down on your knees.
And I hate it. I can't stand that they're saying let go and let God. What the fuck? What the fuck? You're just gonna sit there and do nothing and let go and let your imaginary friend do the work. What the fuck?
Whatever happened to accountability?
Exactly. Jesus took the accountability.
Like breeds complacency. I
honestly
say that a lot.
Some of the external pressure or internal pressure, if you grow up in that community, everybody is somebody, whether it's the principal, the cop, they're all in there. So if you're a little kid, you want to be a cop. I mean, it's just that hidden pressure as well. I need to go to church, but I want to get in good with, because he's director at administration.
I have another theory that goes right along with that. Like, because our schools have been so poor, the best and the brightest go to private schools, which happen to be Catholic, whatever.
Most areas.
Right. Yeah. So our best and the brightest are funneled through religious institutions.
So as I was.
Yeah, and my kids are in a private school that is secular, and every year it's Glendale Country School comes up way out there, and in a Montessori school, they don't push them, they don't push religion at all. When I started the search, when we first got pregnant, that's when it hit me in the face. Man, everything is Catholic, everything is Catholic around, or Christian in some sense. But I was able to find one, and every year I read on it. Why do you consider yours giving this? First thing I write, because you are secular. I read it right in big bold. I don't even think about it. But last time was so apparent to me that one of the administrators are talking about, we want the kids to breathe stuff. I just kind of unscientific. I had a hard time. What are you talking about? I want the kids to relax and think about these other things. She started leaning toward that, and they're really back in. And we're not going in that path. Spirituality.
I think it's a crime to indoctrinate children. I think that it should be illegal, but it's definitely not something it's going to be. But the fact that we
discourage, frowned
upon
at least.
Definitely discouraged. Brainwashed. Yeah, exactly. And to think that you are making these young minds not critical think, it's there's something wrong with that. Yeah, there's something wrong with that because you're hindering them from the start.
Yeah. So, alright, a lot of us are parents, soon to be parents, but we all have opinions on this. I'm assuming most of us know little kids or plan to have kids, what have you. Like, me personally, when I bring it up to my black relatives, they are appalled that I'm going to raise my son not religious. I'm not going to push him towards anything. Like, I'm not going to, be super anti-theist around him while he's growing up. Be like, look, God murders people. I'm not going to do that. When he asks me questions, I'll be happy to answer him with those answers, but I'll wait for that. But I'm not going to push him. And they're appalled by that. So, and he's not born yet, so I don't know exactly what people are really going to do. So, throw that out there to the parents.
My son has already gotten me, you don't believe in God. And I don't push, I say, well, some people believe this. I have a couple books about a humanist book that talks about Dan Barker. There's a couple books about a couple chapters in his books cover the raising kids. And Dale McGowan has a website and a book called Raising Free Thinkers. And I try to, you don't want to say, God kills people, but you're going to be a preacher one day. But I just try to introduce, and we have good friends who are Jewish too. The Jewish are not really religious. They've given us some Hanukkah books, and I like it. I read it all. And you make a decision yourself. But I want you to be able to think about it. But the pressures are coming already, and he came home one day. He goes, Dad, rumors going around school that I don't believe in God. He's fourth grade. And again, this is a secular school too, but the kids are constantly
fourth grade in 2010.
Yeah, fourth grade this year. And so I talked to my wife about it, and she's not any person. She doesn't go to church or anything like that. But I thought about calling the teacher, and I said, well, I just let it go. Okay, well, what'd you say? Well, just a fruit. He's just kids talk. Well, this is a fruit bubble. Show me. He's right next to her.
He got him.
And he's going to say, well, look at the trees. Kids, look at the trees and down the bird. And they come right back with that.
At least they're not adults.
Yeah.
God, you don't see God in the tree.
How did you wake up? How did you wake up this morning? That kind of stuff. It just
how you think? It does show up.
But just to wrap it up, I let it go, and I asked him a week or two later, and I go, how's it going? Are you still sitting with the kids that want to get the million? Oh, yes. So they're back to playing. It kind of, it's going to be waived.
My kids, I was going through a transition. My oldest kid, my oldest and my middle. So they seen the transition.
What grade?
17, 15. Yeah. So the two oldest really saw, the whole change from spiritual to the atheist. Yeah. And I had some good talks with both of them. My little one, he's like on the fence, but I let him stay on the fence because that's his thing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to push him to, be this way or that way.
Go ahead. Like I feel like a lot of people say this, and this isn't just like a black thing. Like atheists are just as dogmatic. I don't think that we are. I think we try to be as hands off as possible.
Right.
And then us giving our opinion when we're asked a question is somehow considered dogma. When we're like, we don't want dogma.
Right.
Do what you want.
Right. My 15-year-old, him and I have something that stimulates the conversation on religion. Talk about God, and me talking, and they've seen my mother and I going back and forth on this. Sometimes I go over there, bless food, do this, God's supposed to do this, blah, blah, blah. And when I say something that's kind of an argument, sometimes a discussion, sometimes, and they see that. And I just told them I just want to raise you guys to be rational, to have some critical thinking. All this church and Bible stuff, that's secondary. You know what I mean? But I just want you guys to grow up using your brain and not fall into that ditch that religion is. So, I think I'm quiet over there.
I got I have the pleasure of my 2-year-old son's mother. Her parents are actually pastors.
And you don't know what it's like to be like a staunch atheist and have to go to your son's Christian. I had to go to my godson. I'm standing next to him like, it's tight. I'm just like, man, but that's gonna be that's a discussion that's gonna have to come up because I don't even think my mother knows. She's known I've been like, a skeptic for a while, but that was back in the day. But like, I don't think she knows these things I am now, and I know that's gonna be a big problem for her because she does like love her God. So, all right. It's over.
So we got young kids. So I was 27 when I became an atheist. I'm 30 now. So my daughter's 2. My son is 7 months. So at this point, I'm kind of just learning and going with it as I'm continuing to learn. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to be the kind of parent that's going to teach them to be rational and reasonable and understand that there are facts. Mm-hmm. And there's a scientific method. But right now, with my 2-year-old, she's pretty bright. And I don't really say things like, gee, there's no real concrete evidence that Jesus existed. I don't go into that with her, but I do try to spark her interest in the naturalness of things. I talk about how I show her skeletons of gorillas and humans and say, look how some of these are. This one's just bigger and a little shorter, and this one's stronger. And we're not as fast as cheetahs, and birds can fly. Isn't that? Just to get her interested. She's interested in the stars, the moon. She says she wants to go to the moon. I tell her, like, you can go to the moon. But you have to study and learn how to go to the moon and what it takes to get there. And it feels different because I didn't have that. I didn't really have anyone in my family that was telling me to think for myself, and that I wasn't told the truth that not everything is possible. not everything is possible. You know, certain things cannot be done.
It's nice to hear what reality is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm not going to wake up a frog tomorrow.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Certain things that don't happen. But if you prepare yourself, you can accomplish a lot of things that you want to do.
So I think like being black, like it, at least I would say most of our opinions add like extra pressure or whatever. Like so some of us are younger than others, but like I guess we can all just talk about that. Like I know like when I went to school with mostly black kids all the way up until high school, which I went to like a talented and gifted program, which is segregated, like class with the white kids, black kids from my neighborhood, whatever. So like, you know, whenever we would talk about it, I'd try to like be resigned or whatever because I know how to defend people. And like all of them knew I didn't go to church. They all knew I watched football on Sundays and all that stuff. Like,
fun stuff.
yeah, like, you know, whenever it came up, I was always the bad guy. I'd get in trouble with my teachers for saying there was no God. Super unconstitutional now that I think about it. But like, so like the pressures were just there. Like churches on every corner, every Sunday you see everybody getting ready to go to church, and like you're not doing anything. Like, I guess I can like kind of make you feel left out. But like I just want to toss that out there, like the extra pressure you feel from being black or
I don't feel pressure now. I'm like, fuck y'all.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's right now. I'm establishing my career, so it's not gonna harm me. But I worry about younger folks who hope it's the same. But hope if you're on YouTube early, people are gonna Google you, and the person who gets that resume on their desk is gonna be that right wing Christian type. And and that troubles me. That this shouldn't be an issue. It should not be an issue. The Constitution says so. It should not be an issue. But we all know the reality of it. People will not do the right thing, even don't care how Christian they are. If they see that you have that YouTube video or atheist or something, it's going right there. So the networking aspect of it, I'm worried about something.
Yeah, because I got my first job from my grandmother told me something at church. And I came out.
That's how it works. I'm thinking that my son wants to be astronaut. He's into science. So there's tons of atheists at NASA. You know.
Right.
I don't worry. If he stays along that field, I don't worry about it at all.
what about like socially in their like own family? Like I feel like
that's
the biggest consequences to come in. Like, for me personally, there were no consequences from my immediate family. I wasn't in danger of like getting kicked out or living in my parents hating me or anything like that. But like I have cousins that right now, if they came out and said they were atheists, like I don't know if they get kicked out, but they get sent to some sort of program. Almost kicked out. So like I feel like it could get bad. So
I find myself tiptoeing around sometimes. Like as I said, my family is extremely religious. So I'll try to drop my opinions here and there and basically take a little litmus test about how they feel about them. But I don't go like full out and tell them what the deal is because for the most part I just feel they're not ready for it. But I guess in my way I kind of hold my ground against whomever is talking whatever because there are people all the time that are like, oh, you know, God must have did this and that because God is great.
Especially the earthquake.
It's true. And I'm just like, well, maybe it just happened that way. And they're like, oh, no, it must have been God. Yeah, you got to hold your ground. Well, I do, at least amongst all those folks. Like, I don't come out fully, but I still let them know. It's like, I remain skeptic and I stand my ground.
I was at a party at home, a birthday party for one of my cousins. And my cousin's husband, and I'm cool with, I'm really cool with. He was like, yeah, been working out on the church, my life straight, this and that. I was like, that's good. He was like, so when you gonna come? I say, come where? Say to church. I say, I'm not. He said, why? I say, I'm not a believer. And then one of my other cousins, she overheard me. She said, you what? Sometimes, even though we live in the area, I don't see them every weekend or, even every month. But they kind of
In case you get struck on like that.
right. They don't want to.
They don't want to fire.
Right.
So my sister married a pastor, and they're lovely people, whatever. But like they have cookouts and like all gospel music the whole time.
Oh my goodness.
In West Baltimore, like, everyone comes and like dances gospel music like crazy, and it's just like, me and my girl are just like looking at them like it's the weirdest thing in the world that they're dancing around like this, and people notice us looking at them like that. They ask us, certain things about, oh, we should come to their church. It's like this all the time. We're like, we don't really go to church, so thank you, and just like the weird looks, and like that's what they want to talk about. And, like I do try not to offend them. I know even me saying I don't believe it's gonna offend them. If I don't want to have that conversation, I just don't say that.
Right.
What do you say? What do you guys say right when prayer comes up? I kind of sit there respectful.
Yeah, I do too. I don't
figure,
walk out.
Yeah.
I figured
Some people, they just walk out.
I play like a little game, honestly, like, because they're all supposed to like have their eyes closed and heads down.
But my kids, they look up at me like, close your eyes. What are you doing?
I haven't heard
and then
that
they
yet.
smirk a little bit.
I know they get like, what do you do?
That's the same thing. I'll sit down and see this stuff. I'm a frat too. Is another big thing, and I have real. Most of them probably don't know, but if they ask me, I'll tell them. Nobody's ever they kind of because they all assume.
Mm-hmm.
They all assume. Well, everything starts at 2 because everybody's in church. But if they ever ask me, I don't believe it.
We're talking about like everyone assumes that we're all religious all the time, so I do want everyone to answer on that. Like, why is that? Why are there so few black atheists that people can just snap assumption, Baptist, whatever?
I think it's fear, man. That's why people want to even just say to themselves, there is no God, even though they see that it isn't. But it's fear of one that made up salvation thing that they won't go to hell. That.
I think Pascal's wager has a phone.
That's what
they say. Satan, they hadn't thought it out. You can smash that stuff. You can basically smash that thing. But I think they said, well, I'll just, just in case. Have you thought about that? Maybe it's the Mormon guy.
Right. Okay.
This is a good guy.
Yeah.
Really good.
I see.
The atheist and Foxhole.
Yeah.
Well, nice meeting you.
Yeah, same, bro.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
People are afraid to ask the question. Even just asking the question like, what if there is no God? Like,
right.
Not necessarily saying there is no God. Just posing it. Exactly. They won't do the thinking required to say like, what is the other option to do?
Well, it's because we're not really that out in the black community. That shit is like, it's just like a fall in line mentality, man. Like, you just have to be this way. I don't understand how it's just a given, like what you were saying. Like, it's just a given that you're a Christian straight up. God bless you, brother. Have a blessed day. That's it. I think it has to do with just the lack of inquiry, man. The lack of asking questions. Maybe even the fear. Just like, first of all, number one, I think religion is just fear.
It is fear.
Number one, definitely. Straight up, fear of just not knowing, just having that, just being ignorant to what's going on, asking why you're here, asking those types of questions. But then you have that created fear of hell, of the devil interacting in your life. not to mention just the stories out the Bible where God is just massacring people. You still have that fear that maybe He's going to decide to do that to you also while you're alive.
It's funny how God is so good and He massacres so many people in the Bible, but the devil only killed maybe 10.
Right.
But God killed millions of people.
And then tortures
Good
those
God.
that God allows him to torture.
Yeah.
He doesn't like go snatching souls.
And I think
deserve that.
I had a roommate in college that asked me the question. He was like, okay, according to your religion, because I was still Bible from the next time. He was like, according to your religion, where is Bob Marley going to go? Or where is Gandhi going to go? And I had to tell him, I was like, well, according to our religion system, we're Christian, they're going to hell. He's like, now tell me what kind of religion is that? And when I thought about it, I was like, damn, that really sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like that a God that's supposed to be this just God sets these crazy ass extreme laws. And if you don't abide by one of them, then you automatically get it.
I had a similar conversation like that with my baby mother. I was sitting down with her, just talking, and her best friend just happened to be like gay or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, so your best friend is gay, and like the Christian lifestyle frowns upon that so much, like it's an abomination. Is she going to hell? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh God, you serious? Like the shit is that. Like the shit is that.
I think the thing that fucks me up so much, man, is this want and desire not to die. Like, I don't understand. Does someone realize what eternity really is?
I know, that's what I was
hate about that.
Oh my God.
Very effective.
Come on, let's
That
think
would
about
be hell, not dying.
Yeah, no,
Think about
That would be hell.
Yeah.
church
All right, so-
all day.
Oh my God.
Church all day.
Not to mention that. What's the transition? What happens during that transition when you're alive and then you die? I mean, what occurs at that moment of death where you do not actually die? What happens? What are you walking up to that bright light, or what happens? Does your soul lift through your body and you go up light years? Like what are you talking about? And that's just the beginning. Not talking about 3 billion years later. What are you up to? You playing that same PlayStation game?
The idea of heaven is ridiculous.
What are you talking?
Aren't there people perfectly deserving of heaven that I would still fucking hate and therefore wouldn't be in my heaven? Like, wouldn't I want to bang Halle Berry all the time? Like, what if she's not down for it? Does get into the absurdity.
I had a conversation with a family member where were you trying to get to it up top?
Oh no,
cool.
Go ahead.
Where he's talking about
We got about 20 minutes.
Okay, cool.
where he's talking about what heaven is like and how you're up in heaven and you can look down and watch everyone and
But I'm wondering, how do you know?
see your family, you see all your family members, your ancestors, and I'm like, all right, well, okay, I'm an atheist, so when I die, I'm going to be in hell, straight up. And your daughter is going to be in hell. How do you feel about that, being in heaven and you watch me and your daughter burning in hell? And it's like, no, I'm not going to know who you are. I'm like, all right, well, if you don't know your daughter, then you probably don't know your wife. That makes you not you in heaven. So how are you actually enjoying heaven without the memory of your children, your son? Where's the logic there? It's just so much compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Lack of critical thinking. I mean, come on, you apply your skepticism here, but you just totally ignore it here. You hear what you're saying. That's not you. How is that happiness? How is that heaven? You're going to be watching me and your daughter just burning forever. You cool with that, man? How is that happiness?
Selective understanding, selective use of logic is it's astounding, and it makes it impossible to argue with you.
Yeah.
As soon as they're like, oh shit, he got me. Nah, well, no. I'm just gonna not think about that. I'm gonna not think about that. I'm not gonna use that logic now. I'm not gonna be bound by your earthly logic right now because everything is possible. Right? That's where they're building.
Yeah.
Like something we said about 5 minutes earlier. Blacks and homophobia.
Oh my goodness.
Prop 8. Prop 8 to me was an embarrassment.
That's why George Bush got elected the second time.
We do vote mostly Democrat. and then yet we're still like the most conservative demographic when it comes to that issue. It's like I hate it. Like I don't know what's up with that. Like their civil rights are just as important as our civil rights. And I feel like we should know that as much as anybody.
Yeah. But the religious compartmentalize that. Right. They say we were different than them. Right. And sex is right. You know, what do they say? They say that it's hard to explain to so far.
Yeah. They'll say like you didn't choose to be black. Well, no, I didn't, but like I didn't choose.
And that's what I was trying to get out.
And I don't think that guy chose to kick a dick. Like would you choose that? I don't think you would. It's not a choice. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was trying to get.
Excellent. Yeah, I still human beings. Yeah, but the minute I admitted, the second I admitted to myself that I was atheist, homophobia diminished. Right. I had to lean on my desk, man, thinking about all the hate I had for homosexuals.
Me too.
And I'm thinking to myself, where the fuck did that come from? And right now that I'm realizing I'm atheist, it's totally unjustified. It's not even me. That shit was gone instantaneously, man.
I mean, personally, I was never really like. I was always just like a cool dude. Like I was shit in high school. I was in the choir. You know, when you straight you in the choir, you gonna have a lot of gay guys in the choir. And I was just cool with all the niggas. It was straight. You know what I'm saying? I never really cared about someone's sexual orientation because I'm like, yo, you the exact same as me. It's like, right.
Same thing happened. Yeah, but it's crazy when you start to study history. Greece, Romans, Egyptians, all of these civilizations. They didn't care about that.
Highly problematic.
They didn't care about that. It was, but not until Judaism comes along, Christianity comes along. As the Roman Empire took that religion in, then that's the change that we see. You know, that's everybody's homophobe.
The argument against it, it should fail every time.
Every time.
There is nothing that is happening. There is no one being hurt by homosexual acts, or just a homosexual in the room. There's no one getting hurt.
If anything, they're keeping the population down where we need.
Exactly. The ratio is better for you now.
Exactly.
How can you, especially the polygamous religion, how can you have polygamy without gay people? It's like really hard, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like the hate is crazy. I really wish we would stop it. I hope next time it comes up for a vote, and like we do right, and we'll see about that. But like,
I'm glad what Maryland is doing. Maryland,
yes,
they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's like the other thing I want to talk about. I think we're all pretty lucky being around here. This is a pretty liberal area for being black, in terms of like coming out as an atheist. Right? Yeah, it's like it's way different than being in Alabama or Mississippi. That shit is infused. Like here it's infused, but like it's more so infused in the people 65 and older. Yeah. And like some of us, it's not as much like there. So like, you guys have anything to say to people like from other places?
I was actually kind of surprised. I had to do a performance in Kentucky. Man, there are a lot of atheists down there.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised, like shit.
Black too.
Well, I went down for a coffee party convention. So I mean, like the majority of the people there were white. But it was a few black people, but I really didn't get into conversation with them about this stuff like that. So how you trying out there, lady? Conversation. We was just sitting around at the bar or whatever. And I don't know. We started talking politics, and then of course,
politics. Then come religion.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And then I was just like, oh, okay, you're cool. Bet. Because of that.
Global warming comes up, which it always does with politics. You kind of have to go with the religion thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel happy that Maryland is such a blue state because this, what I see down south, man, it's hard for me to even comprehend. I'm watching mostly politicians, man, from down south.
I'm like, how do they elect these guys?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, it befuddles me that like Congress or the House the Republicans won that back. I'm like, you stupid fucks, man. Did you see what just happened in this last decade, man?
Are we all liberal?
Yeah.
Is there such thing as a conservative atheist?
I think there's a conservative black atheist.
They're compartmentalized.
Christopher Hitchens is conservative.
Yeah, he is.
Probably. I do. All right, so I'll get to that question. But like, it infuriates me. There's people on YouTube. They're like, look how racist the Democrats are, and like, look how racist they used to be from 1865 until 1960. And I'm like, yes, but then like, look what happened. Like, they formed the Dixiecrat Party, and then they all became Republicans. Like, you can look at it. It's the civil rights issue that divided us into the current party split that we have right now. Why don't you understand that? So, anyone else has like a take on political history like that? Like, I really like it because I've been trying to explain this to people forever. Like, make this whole thing like its own little segment kind of post it. Like, it infuriates me that people think like, you know, the Southern Democrats and the KKK and all that has something to do with modern liberals. And then when we say that the Republicans are racist, which I think a lot of us feel, like, you listen to Rush Limbaugh for 5 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, they're like, oh, whatever.
Rachel Maddow, yeah. Oh, wow. I think they're on like the same time.
Like, Fox News is
There's no doubt.
Yeah. They're like, oh, the Black Panthers are coming to get you. Like, the Black Panthers have been defunct since 1970. You found like this one organization that calls itself the Black Panthers isn't universally rebuked by everybody, left, right, no matter where you stand. Right? So like, I mean, I do want to talk about that. Anyone that has any sense of history and politics and the parties.
My history is not deep when it comes to politics. I recently got interested in politics. I guess around 06, 07. But I don't have a deep history to know. I see what's happening now. I don't really know the history behind the two parties, how they've changed on issues.
If someone asked you right now to explain why Republicans are racist, what would you say? I always wish I had a bumper sticker thing to just come at them and tell them. Like, and I don't really have that. Go listen to Rush Limbaugh. Of course I do that. Go listen to Sean Hannity, who's a little more subtle, but he'll do the exact same thing. Watch Fox News and watch how they put up certain types of propaganda versus other, but like, so anyone have like
I don't know.
I don't know a short answer.
I really don't know.
Because it's interesting.
It sounds like you know, but
I kind of know.
Go for it.
Alright, so like the policies they push, which is personal responsibility, bullshit, because they take subsidies just as much as the next one. Personal liberty, all of that basically means leave shit alone. Well, if you leave shit alone, black people are fucked, right? A huge exponential wealth gap. Yeah, but that's not a race thing. Like, if you break down wealth by race versus income by race, it's a huge disparity. And so if you just leave shit alone, black people will always economically be at the bottom. The only way to do it is to institute certain reforms or give them certain educational opportunities, which the Republicans are universally against when it comes to everything, right? They're universally against that now. They didn't used to universally be against that. So the status quo has us on the bottom, and like that's what their policies seek to establish, even seek to go back a little bit, kind of, like, that kind of thing. So,
what kills me is when they ask, like, we gave you all these civil rights, why can't you guys pull yourselves up on your bootstraps? And all that talk right there. I always liken it to somebody breaking both your legs and then saying, come on, let's run this race. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Why you keep doing it all the time? It doesn't work like that. Like, there's obviously years of catching up that we have to do, especially, say, when the race has been going on for 50 laps. and you're just starting on lap number 2 or something like that. Like that with all the things that you can hear them say, you don't feed stray animals because they repopulate and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you hear that kind of rhetoric, but like you have to listen to hear that stuff. Like that's what I really wish there was, like a public secretary issue. But like, I'm sure we'll come back to that issue.
Speaking of politics, how you feel about how Obama is doing? I'm kind of disappointed in him. I'm kind of disappointed.
I'm really disappointed. When I saw those Bush tax cuts getting
exactly,
I was like, come on, man.
Really. I think added to Afghanistan too.
That's too, yeah. It's like, come on,
disgusting. Hey, let's drill here. Open his face. That's disgusting. The way he just reifies every Republican ideal over and over again.
It makes me
understand. He says tax cuts are good. No, they're not. Like you don't stand for that. You stand for the opposite of that.
Exactly.
Act like it. Like.
So you think if the Republicans didn't take over the House, you think he wouldn't have extended?
I think he would have.
You think he would have?
Yeah.
It looked like he would have.
I think he would have. I'm wholly disappointed. And one of the reasons I voted for him is because like he gave like the most atheistic speech I ever saw.
I see that. I know.
Leviticus is ridiculous. If we kill people for eating shellfish, we'd be dumb. Like we can't govern that way. I was like, yes, that's
finally awesome. Somebody
has like no more appeal to the non-religious community. Basically none. It's like, oh, I go to church. Look at this church that I go to. Look at me going to church. I've got this service and that service. Another thing, like being a black person from this area, I'm basically like downright offended. I don't see this dude like at least do a photo op in Anacostia.
It's true.
Right.
Come across the PG County, do something. Like there's
more
more black people all around you, and nothing. And yet another like. Back to the racist Republicans. They still accuse him of doing racial politics, but he couldn't do anything less. He couldn't do anything less. And like, I'm disgusted.
I'm still wondering how healthcare changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any difference.
There was no difference. They passed it in a way that it would get overturned. Like they keep passing stuff that will get them attacked and show no results to get them benefits. They're like,
where's the backbone though?
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't have it, man.
I'm very in general right now. Except for like a few. You got a few like Alan Grayson and Anthony Weiner that I like them. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part,
it's almost like you wish you'd be a little like Bush in terms of, I'm doing
Exactly. Right. Bush was like, fuck y'all.
Exactly.
Who thought that the first black president wasn't gonna have balls? I feel like if you're the first black president, you should know, nigga, like people are gonna try to kill you. And he's like, think that, like,
right.
It should happen.
It could be your last day today. Push something through.
I bet there's a lot of hope that he's saving it all for his second term.
I hope he does it. I can't support it.
I don't have.
He might be the lesser evil.
I don't think that either.
Will he grow some balls?
I don't know. I don't know who's more evil. Like, I mean, because while he's up there, he makes us look bad. On top of bad politics. Like,
I'm almost willing to gamble on Michelle Bachmann.
No.
I mean, hear me out. Simply because I want people to see how fucked up things will be if they select one of those two.
Things were already fucked up with Bush. I can't stand any more things being fucked up.
That would be very entertaining.
I mean,
and that's all I'm looking at.
There's still legit differences between the parties.
Of course there is.
You can see that shit in Wisconsin. If you get someone like for real, it's you can't go wrong. You gotta lose to
that shit would be
interesting. We couldn't vote for her. That'd be terrible.
I bet America would shake up.
Maybe. We didn't shape up after Duffy.
True.
I mean, I guess we kind of tried. Like, people kind of got lied to about the rock. Not great.
They talk some good
things. I feel like, he's the first black president that's going to be bad for race relations. Like, look what happens on Earth. I'm not saying anything. I'm trying to say, look what happens. Never again. Right? So like I really feel like that is gonna permeate the subconscious of some people. Alright. So who are your biggest influences in making your transition, or just
It was so many things through the years.
Hitchens, big influence for everybody.
Yeah, Hitchens.
My heroes. Actually,
You know who I like too? The astrophysicist. Yes, I met him. He was cool as hell.
You met him before?
Yeah, I met him and Dawkins at Howard.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, dude seems like a really good.
Yeah. And that I got a story to tell about Dawkins. He was signing books in the basement of whatever where we were at Howard, and they were giving out the Origin of Species book out front, but what's his name? Cameron.
Kirk Cameron.
Ray Cameron.
Yeah, and had that, and I just took it, and I went downstairs, and I just wanted to see his reaction. I was like, you want to sign this book? This is the Origin of Species. He said, I'm not signing that fucking book. I was like, you're the man. That was some funny shit.
That was fun.
Yes. I give it to Hitch, man. Yeah, this is sure, man. Hitch, man. Hitch.
That book is
I never heard.
hit.
When I didn't even read this stuff. Well, before I read this book, God is Not Great, I just saw him in debates, man. And it was funny because
atheists almost when you go to crowd reaction, I've almost never seen the atheist win the crowd reaction. Every time they cross the Go ahead.
The dude has his things that he said though. It's like he was playing a set like a comedian, man. He would say the same exact things, man. And they would be hard hitters, man, every single time. And I'm like, man, this dude is asking questions and super smart. This motherfucker just quoting and citing things and giving you sources and then backing it up with things that make sense, sound arguments, and never getting a solid rebuttal. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
One thing that I like about what Christopher Hitchens says is he says about vicarious redemption. Is that a moral thing? And it really isn't, though. Yeah. I mean, somebody dying for your, that's not. And that made me think. I'm like, that's like the bottom of the barrel of morality.
Yeah. Not being held accountable.
Exactly.
NGD, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is that's a big influence on us spiritually or whatever, religiously, non-religiously. Is black. They're all white.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's a cop out, man. The line that he got me with hardest was when he talks about how humans, Homo sapiens, have been around for 250,000 years. Let's just go 100. So God's sitting up there, just not even involved for 98,000 years, and then 98,000 years go by. He's like, hey, what the hell? I'll save you. Get a quick fix by killing my son / self. I'm like, damn, never thought of it in that way, man. And that's what really sparked the flame. I mean, that's what really fanned the flame. There already was a spark in my head, but I'm like, dang, this dude just woke me up, man. And then just continually listening to him.
No one besides NGD, Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's a big influence on us spiritually or whatever, religiously, non-religiously. Is black. They're all white.
Yeah,
Yep.
instead of people on YouTube that I see, and I'm like, hey, there's somebody like me, and I mean, nobody's the guy. What's his name? The infidel guy. Yeah.
I still say my greatest influence was that college roommate that asked me that question.
Awesome. Was he black?
He was black. He actually died last year in a car crash. You know, the brothers died, the youngest. But yeah, if it weren't for those questions that he asked me, I don't know exactly where I'd be at this point. But yeah, when he asked me all that, he actually started the thought process, and from there I started listening. Yeah, that's definitely one of my.
Carl Sagan too, man.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah.
And I guess it's sad to see that we don't have any, aside from the Neil deGrasse Tyson, we don't have any like black intellectuals that are.
That's what I want to get into, because Cornel West is the opposite.
He sure is.
He really is.
He says great things, but he's still wrapped up in it.
And Tavis Smiley, he's
same thing. Yo, I was watching fucking Real Time with Bill Maher. D.L. Hughley was on there.
Oh my goodness!
He fucking like made jokes of these Republicans, and then he was like, "Nah, I don't believe in evolution."
Right.
I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he did.
Yes,
I didn't even see that show, man.
But like, I'm glad you said that, because that's like the last topic I wanted to hit. Who are our famous black atheists, famous black academics?
You know who was damn near atheist, Frederick Douglass.
They're all dead, but yeah. We have a couple of those, and they get swept under the rug in history. It's something I'll talk about later, or probably next time. Like A. Philip Randolph, we probably wouldn't be here without A. Philip Randolph. He planned all these marches on Washington. The March on Washington, he was an atheist. Baird Rustin, he was an atheist. There was a bunch of them, right? Like a lot right now. So like they died, they got swept under the rug. Our civil rights movement became a completely religious movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now I know Neil deGrasse Tyson, Robert Smith, the Vikings. That's on the NFL Network.
He's atheist too.
Yes, he's super light skinned. He's probably mixed.
I can't think.
I mean, an athlete that's atheist really.
There's gotta be some. There's gotta be some.
Somewhere.
We'll talk about that shit in sports too. We'll talk about that next time, I guess.
I mean, not only in sports.
We can't come up with anybody. Robert Smith, he's fairly famous.
And there's probably more though, but I mean, they're just afraid to come out. It's
Exactly.
kind of like the real suicide and shit.
Yeah, I agree. But someone's got to do it. Like,
it's true.
Yeah. If everybody never does it, then that's a problem. So,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we got NGD. That's it. Keep saying that. And that's Robert Smith.
That's about it.
Yeah. Gracie Square is kind of a celebrity
now, man.
And like all the things, like rap music was so anti-Christian, like for a long time, but then like Muslim, right? Never went atheist. Like Raz Kass says some of the most like heathenistic shit ever, but then he's still a Muslim or whatever. So like.
Yeah. I was surprised that today I learned that Dave Chappelle, as atheistic as his journey is, his show was, he's Muslim.
Yeah,
really?
I knew that.
I didn't know that.
I knew that. I did.
I have trouble listening to rap now, man. It's too much.
Now it's garbage. Boy.
Turn off the camera.
It is garbage.
I have to keep up with what my kids are listening to.
You got one now?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I mean, I grew up on go-go. Damn, that new go-go sounds like freaking noise.
Because they're doing it off Soulja Boy songs, which are noise.
And but I do like some Lil Wayne stuff. I gotta say, I do like
he
some
went way
Lil Wayne
downhill.
stuff. 6 foot, 7 foot. I Turn it up in the ride. The faces.
How we feel away like that?
Anything else pertaining to the atheist thing y'all want to get to? Final thoughts from anyone?
This is good.
We're definitely going to do this again.
I think maybe once a month, maybe.
Once a month sounds perfect.
Yeah, maybe be on time. We get in here, bang it all out.
No, it was black people on daylight savings time.
Yeah, real.